Lee, when Biden's proposal came out, Republicans declared it dead right away. What are you looking to see from Biden to keep these initiatives moving forward?
Well, what I'm looking to see more generally is that we not politicize um, little children and their fate. I think we're in a dangerous situation in this country. We went down that road under the Trump administration where children became pawns. And I think we're seeing that now where everyone's talking about the border and using it for political advantage. But while that's happening, there are little children who are in desperate straits, families who have fled danger, and there really is a humanitarian crisis. But it's not a crisis. I want to be clear about this for the federal government's resources. The federal government has more than enough resources, and we are not talking about letting everyone stay here. We are talking about doing what we're legally required to do and what's humane and give people hearings. I think the starting point has to be you're not going to revert to a Trump administration policy of taking little children from their parents, expelling families without even an asylum hearing. And so there are definitely practical challenges. We're sympathetic to what the Biden administration faces, given that the Trump administration dismantled the entire system. But I would really like us to not politicize the fate of these children. The Biden administration will have political challenges on how to move these bills, whether they move them as a comprehensive piece or piecemeal. But at the same time, I think we really need to make sure that we are not sending children and families back to danger without even a hearing.
So what is your policy recommendation to the Biden administration? What would you like to see the Biden administration do? You say that the administration has the resources to not to politicize this and not to send children back in harm's way. What do you want to see?
So most specifically, there's a Trump administration policy called the Title 42 policy that the administration put in place that allows the expulsion of families with little children. We want the Biden administration to rescind this and start giving people hearings. We believe they can do that. There are NGOs all across the border ready to take families in. We want the administration to put more resources at the border so that they can test, that they can reimburse NGOs for housing families. And I think we can do all that. They can put up soft tents for processing so it can be done outdoors. There are a lot of practical things. We have so much resources. That's a good first step to start using FEMA. I think we can do it. We can do more of it and even quicker. But I think one option that has to be taken off the table is what the Trump administration did, which is send families of little children back without even a hearing. Remember, it doesn't mean that these families are going to get to stay, but we are required under the law and basic human decency to give them a hearing to at least find out, are these people entitled to asylum in this country? And we have the ability to give people hearings. That's a minimum that we should be doing.
Lee, working with the kids once they're here, working with the people once they're in the United States and making sure that they are treated humanely is one part of this. But another part is what to do about the people who continue to come to the United States. In the first full month of the administration, in February, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported more than 100,000 people tried to cross the border illegally. It's a 28% increase over January, a significant jump. How does the Biden administration reduce those numbers?
I think the numbers will reduce naturally.
How?
Immigration and migration. Well, immigration and migration is always cyclical. During the Bush administration, the numbers were even higher. No one talks about it. Numbers fluctuate. A lot of this is backlog from the Trump administration because they would let no one in. And so the numbers will go up and down. The more important point, I think, is capacity, right? That's a big number, but we certainly have the capacity to process that number. Next year, it may be lower. It's always cyclical. That certain things like COVID and the hurricanes produced big numbers that will naturally go down. The Trump administration backlog will naturally go down. I think the critical question is not the aggregate number, but whether we have the capacity to give people hearings. And I think we do.
How much capacity do we have?
I think the federal government has enormous, because I don't think we're anywhere near that capacity. We're not even near the numbers that the Bush administration dealt with. So when people say these are historically high numbers, that's simply not true.
What about when it comes to potentially working with countries in Central America? Does the Biden administration need to work with countries in Central America in order to help stop the movement of migrants?
Well, I think you're raising an important point that this has to be a regional solution. And what we saw under the Trump administration is them cut off programs and aid to those countries. There's no question we want to deal with the root causes, and I think the Biden administration is committed to doing that. I think it's a mistake to assume that families with little children want to leave their homes, make this dangerous journey. They're doing it because that's a rational decision for them because they're in such danger in their home countries. We need to do more to ensure that people do not have to leave those countries. I think we can do that. We were making progress in prior administrations. So you're absolutely right that we have to address the root causes. We don't want this many people feeling like they have to make this dangerous journey, that they have to uproot their families, take a 2 or 3 year old on these journeys all across Central America.
Yeah.
So we want to do that. I think the Biden administration will do that. I think we'll see the numbers go down. But in the meantime, we can't send children and families back to danger without even a hearing.
ACLU's Deputy Director of Immigrants' Rights Project, Lee Galern. Lee, thanks so much for taking the time and for joining us on this important topic.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.